All right. General chemistry, we have talked about electronegativity, an atom's ability to pull on electrons. We've talked about valence electrons, the electrons in the outer shell of the atom. We have talked about electron transfer, that high electronegative atoms pull electrons away from low electronegative atoms until they have a full valence shell. We have talked about ion formation, which is the positive and negative charges that occur when those electrons are moved. And we have talked about predicting charges based on how many valence electrons have. That limits how many they can gain or lose, which determines which charge they're going to have. So now we have charges. We have different ions of different charges. We've got cations. We've got anions, positive and negative. We've got everything. What does it matter? What now? Well, ions come together to make ionic compounds. It's all about the compounds. It's all about atoms coming together. This is what it's all about. Now, how does this work? Well, because of electromagnetism, we know that opposite charges attract, like charges repel, and charges seek a balance. We're going to use these rules to help us figure out the names and the formulas of ionic compounds. We're going to start with the names first because they are the most simple. So, here's our question. What is the name and the formula of the ionic compound formed with lithium and oxygen? First, let's do the name. Well, all right. 22. The name. Well, we know that we're using lithium and we know that we're using oxygen. And one of the naming rules is that the cation, the positively charged ion, always goes first. So which of these two, lithium or oxygen, is going to be the positively charged ion? Well, we know that positively charged ions, cations, they come from metals and they come from atoms with low electronegativity. So there's a couple different ways we can answer this. We can look at our periodic table and we know that the low electronegatives are on this side and the high electronegative are on this side, and we can find them that way. Or we can use what we know about metals and find them that way. Either way, we'll need our periodic table. So let's look at lithium. Lithium is number 3. It's a metal. It has a low electronegativity. That means it's going to lose electrons, which means it will get a positive charge, which means it's a cation. So lithium, because it's our positively charged ion, its name will come first. And when you write the name, you just write the name. Lithium goes first. So we know that oxygen will be our anion. It will be our negatively charged ion. When you use the anion, you don't simply write the anion. You would think that would be lithium oxygen, but that is not correct. You have to change to its IDE ending. So lithium becomes lithium oxide. And that's it. That is the name. Cations come first. The anion changes to an IDE ending. That's it. Now, what about the formula? Well, that's a little more tricky. For the formula, we have to find the symbols. Well, we can look lithium up. We know that the symbol for lithium is Li. We can look oxygen up and know that the symbol for oxygen is O. So we know that we're going to use Li and O in the formula. Now, what we need to do is we have to find the count. How many lithium ions is it going to take to make a neutral compound so that when they all come together, their charges equal 0? And how many oxygen is it going to take for them to come together and make a neutral compound so that they all equal 0? Well, to do that, we need to know the charge. And the charge on lithium we can look it up on the periodic table. Lithium's in this first group here, and everybody in that group always gets a positive 1 charge. So lithium is positive 1. And over here, we can look for oxygen. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons. It has a high electronegativity, so it's going to gain electrons. It's going to gain until it has a full shell. Well, if it has 6 and it gains 1, it has 7. If it has 2, it has 8. That's a full shell, so it's going to gain 2. So it will have a negative 2 charge. Well, now we've got our symbols, we've got our charges. We have to balance them so that they come to make a neutral compound. Well, if we have 1 lithium and 1 oxygen, we'll still have a charge of negative 1. Because we have negative 2 plus 1, that gives us negative 1. We're not balanced. We're not at 0 yet. So we need more positive charges. Lithium isn't able to bring the charge back up to 0 because -2 is farther away from 0. So we need more lithium. So we're just going to add a second lithium. Now, if we look at the charges on this side has a +2. This side has a -2. Those come to equal 0. We're neutral. We have got it. We have got our ions together to become neutral. We have sought balance. We have made it a compound that is neutral. Well, how many lithium did we use? Well, we used 2 lithium to get us this +2 overall charge. We have 1 oxygen to get this -2 charge. Those numbers are the counts. And that's what we need in our formula. So what will it look like? We have lithium, we have 2 of them, and we have 1 oxygen. So there we have it. This is our formula. This is our lithium oxide. So this is the name, lithium oxide, and this is the formula. Those are the steps to give you the name and the formula of simple ionic compounds. I hope this helps. Struggle well.